to move people around. But I want to thank you for coming, and also personally, on behalf of His Excellency, the government, and the people of Sierra Leone, thank you all for the wonderful support you are giving back to Sierra Leone. Like the High Commissioner told me when we met in Brussels a couple of days ago, that he's going to meet associations, NGOs, stakeholders that are one way or another are supporting actions back home, particularly social actions, and some of them are also investing in Sierra Leone and doing business in Sierra Leone. You know, my responsibility, like I usually say, I'm a politician. One of my responsibilities is to give hope. To give hope. As a politician, if you don't know how to give hope, very difficult for you to get people to rally behind you. So I'm here to give you hope of that small country of yours, about 8 million people. You know, in the last 5 years that have done great things against the background of very, very difficult situation. I used to tell people, and I even told people from the Sierra Leone High Commission staff, I say when I was a student in France a couple of years ago, I used to come to UK every summer holiday, and I used to accompany my relatives to Costco. And I believe the kind of money you need in those days to buy 500 or you can fill your cars. But now you go to Costco and with 500, I don't think you can fill 2, 3 cars. It shows that the world all over, not only in Sierra Leone, in West Africa, all over the world, things are getting difficult. The social space is contracting. But against that background, we have been trying to do what we are doing under the leadership of His Excellency the President. You know, I usually tell people a story. When we came in 2018, it was a very fine period in the history of that country. We are able to get to do a very strong fiscal discipline. We control public expenditure, and then we expand opportunities for getting additional revenue because we had in our mind a very big, elaborate social program that is education. We thought His Excellency said that we are going to use human capital development as a pathway to turn around the fortunes of this country. And when you talk about human capital development, you're talking about health, you're talking about education, you're talking about governance, promoting women's rights, promoting child's rights, strengthening the rule of law. And all those sectors are essentially what we call in governance the social infrastructure, which means these are sectors where you spend money, but you don't make money. So when we came in 2018, 2019, the economy was doing fine because we were able to create additional initiative for revenue. We were able to generate and increase the country's reserve. The country's reserve at that time was around 450. We increased it to nearly 600 and something million dollars. And then we were able to take 22% of that GDP and put it into education. When we came, the health budget was like 6%. We were able to increase it progressively from 6 to 8, 8 to 10, and now today the health budget we are at 11.2%. We are able to increase the budget in agriculture. We are able to increase the budget in the water sector because we wanted to expand water distribution facilities and provide safe drinking water to other communities. We invested in off-grid solar solutions, all to support communities. It took a lot on the budget, but we were doing fine. Then in 2019, by the close of 2019, 2020, COVID came, and then it contracted the fiscal space. We all know it slowed down the economy. By the time we were trying to get out of COVID, designing what we call a post-COVID recovery program, then the Ukrainian crisis came. What is the impact? The impact is high transport cost, high freight cost, high energy cost. So the government moved automatically to a position of subsidy. Because if you have high energy cost, if you have high fuel cost, if you have high freight charges, it affects basic necessities. So we move automatically to subsidy. We are subsidizing almost everything. You know, I usually tell people, I think our portfolio for subsidy is vastly expansive. We subsidize rice, we subsidize wheat flour, we subsidize fuel, we subsidize electricity. I give you a critical example, is electricity. Electricity today in Sierra Leone, we buy electricity from what we call IPPs, Independent Power Producers. We buy electricity today in Freetown, 5,000 leons per kilowatt hour. We sell at 2,800 leons per kilowatt hour to people in the social category tariff. And 90% of Sierra Leoneans are in that tariff. So for 90% of households in Sierra Leone, we subsidize electricity by 2,200 leons per person, per kilowatt hour. So it shows, because if you allow the increase in price to be transferred to the population, it's going to really create serious challenges. So we took over everything. And then at the end of the day, for the last 2 years, I can tell you, apart from development funding, we are not involved in real capital development, meaning that the government of Sierra Leone is not building a new road. If you see we're doing a new road, believe me, that road is paid by the EU. Or for the roads that we have approved, we are doing it by what we call 10-kilometer financing. For every 10 kilometer the contractor does, we pay you. So for every 10 kilometer, because we don't have the luxury, we are spending all of the money in subsidy. And like I said, but it is good, the social investment we made. We made social investment, like I said, 22% of the budget in education. Today, in Sierra Leone, in the last 5 years, we have added hundreds of thousands of kids into the school system. As I'm talking to you today, we have like 2.7 million kids in primary and secondary school we are paying school fees for. We are paying fees, we are buying books, we are paying teachers, we are supporting them with teaching and learning materials. Today, we have expanded the opportunity for early childhood learning. You go to villages first time, when they talk about early childhood learning, that is nursery schools, it was meant really for elitist families in the western area. Today, in the upcountry, in this country, we have built early childhood centers. And then we are building them exactly around market areas where you have very big markets, so that will allow women to go to sell, while at the same time they have a place where they can keep their kids. We have increased the number of girls that are going to school. For the first time in the history of Sierra Leone, you have more girls in basic, senior, secondary school than any other time. It's one of the top in Africa to see the number of girls. Today, the number of girls, Sierra Leonean girls that are going to study sciences in the university have increased. If you go to the science faculty in Frobe College, it's full of girls. That is because we paid premium on girls going to school. Not only to send them to school, but initiative to keep them in school. So this is some of the things that it has been phenomenal. Just in 2023 alone, it's about 137,000 kids that passed the WASC exam. It has never happened in Sierra Leone. 137,000. We have recruited thousands of teachers. So the education sector have done a wonderful job. But for a country like Sierra Leone, that have seen years and years of the social sector being under pressure and serious challenge, we know we have to do more. Because every time I go up country, I go to a district, I visit a school, I visit a community, they ask for more teachers. They want more teachers to get PIN code. They ask for additional classrooms. Today, the incentive to go to school in Sierra Leone is trade. That is why you have His Excellency the President as the co-chair with the UN Secretary General of the of Education in Transition. Is the only president that is co-chairing that one with the president, with the Secretary General of the UN. That is why every year is invited to UNESCO in Paris. Today, our benchmarking, in the international indicators in the education sector is going up. It is getting positive. It is green. And it's as a result of that that we were able to consistently pass the MCC indicators that makes us compact eligible. Today we have $480 million from the Americans. Although it is a grant, although it is a grant, but this is a grant that is tied to the performance around the social indicators, how you control corruption, how you increase the opportunity for girls to go to school, how you are able to provide opportunities in the health sector. So today we are very satisfied with the education sector. Now the biggest challenge in the education sector in Sierra Leone is not basic, it's higher technical education. Because if you have 137,000 students passing WASC alone, it means 137,000 students are qualified to go to higher and technical education. Where is the infrastructure? The infrastructure is not there. Make no mistake. The infrastructure is not there. The universities are crowded. They are overcrowded. Higher technical education overcrowded. So that is why His Excellency has decided to establish what we call alternative financing model for higher and technical education. We are looking at ways that we can get additional resources that we can put into higher and technical education, because we need to do four things there. First, we need to build the infrastructure so that at least more kids that are going to university, higher technical education will have a space. Second thing we need to do there is also to improve the quality of learning. And to improve the quality of learning, it means you have to spend additional resources on training lecturers, young lecturers, to become professors so that they have the opportunities. The third thing we want to do that is to expand the opportunity for the university to play a key role in the development, particularly today that we have made agriculture fit salon a priority, and we realize that universities can make another impact. The fourth thing that needs to be done here is to improve the governance of the university structure, so that the university is more accountable, is more transparent, so that whatever resources they get, they are able to manage it. Because people are paying fees and those fees needs to be managed. So essentially, these are the four key areas around the challenges we have to address at the higher technical education level. But that is the challenge where we are. Because the higher and technical education is the future of the free quality education. If we don't prepare it, then the free quality education is going to fail. So that is it, and we are working. Now we have a very young Minister of Education, a lady, very young lady, Dr. Wuri. So she's working on that model for alternative financing to see how we can develop ideas to support higher education. But across the board, I must tell you, if you travel outside of Sierra Leone today, outside of Freetown, like the last WASC NPSC result, places like Falaba, they did extremely very well. If you know Falaba, Falaba is far removed from Freetown and the road network there is very difficult. But kids there are doing very well in public examination. That is the satisfaction for the education. On the head, like I said, when we came, the budget was like 6%. We increased that to 11.2%. But the focus for the health sector is maternal and infant health. So when we came in, we realized that we need to reduce maternal mortality to the lowest. When we came in, maternal mortality was like 107,000 per 100,000 life birth. Progressively, by 2 years later, we were able to reduce that to 717 by 100,000 life birth. We thought it was still high. In 2022, we were able to reduce this to 443. We still think it is very high, because we want to reduce it to a single digit, or to 2 digit. But the next assessment that will come out, you see that we have reduced it. How did we do it? With various initiatives. There are no one initiative, because when we came, we tried to look at maternal health in light of what we call the life stages model. We want to look. We started to focus first on the 22 months from the time the woman gets pregnant to the time they deliver the baby in its infancy stage, all what you need to support that. And we did that. We recruited additional nurses, 11,000 healthcare workers, 8,500 of whom were nurses. Today we still need more. We are able to expand training for midwives. We created additional institutions. We built new midwife institutions like in places like Kenema to expand training so that at least we're able to change the model of certain NGOs that are working in the health sector to get them focused on specific things. And then we distributed ambulances across the country to every chiefdom so that no matter how late, no matter what the time is, if a pregnant woman feels pain, there's an ambulance in the chiefdom that can take you to the nearest healthcare center. And then also we did a lot of campaign around teenage pregnancy because we realized that large majority of the people that died through birth were kids, young kids. So we engaged in a campaign, and then we brought in we reversed the policy to allow pregnant girls to go back to school and also create additional mentorship for them. So teenage pregnancy was drastically reduced. And at the same time, we introduced another new dimension into it. Because I remember in 2018 when I visited Pujao Hospital, I went to the maternity ward, and then most of the pregnant women were not there. Then I asked the doctor, where are the pregnant women? They said they went to town for food. Then I realized that food is also a very important aspect. Then I came back to Freetown. Then I campaigned to the Minister of Finance. Then we created a dedicated budget line for nutrition. Sierra Leone is one of the first countries in Africa to have a dedicated line of budget for nutrition for pregnant women and under 5 children. I didn't know that until in February when I went to Ethiopia in Addis Ababa. When I said that, other heads of state were sitting there. Really? Yeah, why would you? Because usually nutrition budgets are lost in ministry. So we created a line. So anybody who takes that money is going to spend it on nutrition, either to feed pregnant women or to feed under 5 malnourished kids. Because we realize that if you have a malnourished pregnant woman, the tendency for that malnourished pregnant woman to give birth to a malnourished baby is very high. And even the tendency for a very weak and malnourished pregnant woman to survive delivery is also very, 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 very low. So that is why we created that budget line, and we are very proud that today and every year we are going to increase it. Because when we did that, UNICEF came with what they call the nutrition match window, meaning that if we put 500,000, UNICEF is going to add another 500,000. So every year we are going to increase that. So today we are able to support also pregnant women, and then we created what we call nutrition clinics. These are all working directly under my office. The nutrition clinic are essentially in hospitals is to give advice to pregnant women on the kind of nutritious food they could eat, because some of these food they are present in those communities. So this is what we did to reduce maternal health and as well as infant health. We are able to increase baby care unit, because when we came in 2018, special baby care unit, we are all only at the regional level. Like if you go to the whole of the northeast, you have it in Makeni. So in 2018, when we visited the first one in Makeni, we worked with UNICEF. We sat down, we developed a program supported by UNICEF, government joined UNICEF. Then we expanded that. The special baby care unit is those baby care unit to support um, premature born. So today in Sierra Leone, we have reversed the tendency. Before 2018, it's about 20% chance for a premature born to survive. Today is 20% chance that a premature born in Sierra Leone will die. So we change it. We change the whole arithmetic. Where we can support them. So a lot is going on in the social sector areas. But interestingly, I will want to talk a little bit on the productive sector. Why the productive sector? The productive sector is very important because if you have a government that spends nearly 22% of its budget on education, 11.2 on health, and then a lot more creating a special dedicated line for malnutrition, supporting water, supporting this, then that government needs money to spend. Where do you get the money? It means government has to expand opportunity for the productive sector so that to encourage people to do business. so that you create a competitive business environment so that people can do business and their business can thrive. They can make profit. When they make profit, they are able to pay taxes and they are able to create additional jobs for Sierra Leoneans. And when you create jobs, then obviously you are able to help the economy because more people put more money into the economy and then pay additional tax. So in the last couple of years, we have been focusing seriously on creating a competitive environment for businesses. So His Excellency established the National Investment Board, of which the President is the chairman. I am the co-chairman of the National Investment Board. It is supervised by my office. It is directly working under my office. The National Investment Board is to identify all the key obstacles to supporting people to do business in Senegal. They have been working. We are trying to reduce the barriers every time to reduce the barriers. This is a way to encourage people so that they can do business with less hassle. Because usually when people go to do business, not only in Sierra Leone, but most sub-Saharan African countries, the obstacles are so much that they become very frustrating point for people to just close their business and come back. So the National Investment Board is there to support and look at this obstacle to support small businesses to grow. We are also side by side putting programs in place to support small businesses to grow, particularly businesses that want to invest in feed salon. We are also working on working around a model that we call how do you support people who want to work in the agricultural sector to get money from the bank. Because if you look at the bank today, the banks are charging very high interest rate. So if you depend on the banks in Sierra Leone, particularly if you want to invest in agriculture that is considered as a high risk sector, you don't get money. So what we are working on what we call collateral approach to supporting businesses, meaning that at the central bank, government is going to put money there, and that money will be there to as a collateral to support people who goes to commercial bank to take money to invest in feed salon. Because the whole idea that we want to encourage people to be in food production. And in food production, it's not only food production is a chain, it's a value chain. You know, it's from growing to processing and to commercialization. So that is a chain in itself. It necessarily means that when people go into the feed salon, you have to look at the chain that you identify where you can add value. Maybe you are on the commercialization end. For example, you have people who are in animal husbandry. They can slaughter the cow and then you can package the cows and then you can package the meat and then you supply the meat. So in all that chain, we are providing opportunity for people to have soft credit, meaning soft credit, government in itself is putting money into it, but government is also creating the opportunity for small businesses to have access, to financing that will allow them. Because the whole idea, the principal idea, objective of Feed Salon is to reduce our food dependency, our food import dependency. In 2018, 2019, when we came, we were spending about $520 million alone to import food, and that has increased, let me by the way. And out of that $520 million in 2019, we were spending $240 million alone on importing rice. In Sierra Leone, by 2018, 2019, we were importing almost everything from water to Coca-Cola. And these are things that we can produce. So what we decided in 2019 was to create a soft landing for people who want to go into what we call import substitution, meaning like things like water, things like soda, things like soft drink, Coca-Cola, orange juice, things like fruits, these things that Maggi cube, cooking oil. So we encourage. So today in Sierra Leone, believe you me, we have companies that produce Maggi cube. Yes, it is there. We have companies that produce butter, soap, cooking oil. We are exporting cooking oil to Guinea, to Liberia, to Mali, to Senegal. And I know this because I went to this country myself to sit down with the authorities so that to allow this cooking oil to enjoy what we call the common ECOWAS tariff. What does that mean? It means if you produce something in Sierra Leone, if that product goes to any of the ECOWAS country, does not need to pay customs. It is only going to pay maybe what we call transit fee. So that is what we call the common ECOWAS tariff, the ELTS. So these are things. So we even export soap noodles. These companies, because today Sierra Leone is the largest oil palm producing country in Africa. We produce oil palm. So we have two factories today that produce cooking oil. They produce soap noodle. We export special oil designed for cosmetic to Nigeria. Yes. And these are companies that are there, they are doing very well. These are companies that we are supporting to have additional capital, not only from Sierra Leone, but outside of Sierra Leone. Even when I was at the investment forum in Marseille last week Friday, by this we were in Marseille. Last week, we were discussing with French companies because today we have done a lot of work with the French government. So now Sierra Leone, for the first time in the last 20-25 years, we have access, our companies, businesses have access to direct French lending from their banks. Yes, we did that because 2018, 2019, we came to Paris, we had a lot of meetings. We asked the French to do three things. And believe you me, they have delivered. We asked them to open an embassy in Freetown. They said, look, we cannot open an embassy, but we are going to open a level 2 embassy. They call it in French antenne diplomatique with a chargé d'affaires. We asked them to deliver visa, Schengen visa. Today they are delivering Schengen visas in Freetown. We asked the French that we want to have direct access to the to development aid from France. Today, Agence France Development is supporting a lot of projects in Sierra Leone, including opening up French capital for businesses. So you have companies that are there. There are now French companies that have positioned themselves to tap into these opportunities to go to Sierra Leone to do business. So essentially, the whole idea, like I was talking about feed salmon, is import substitution. Today we are exporting, and we believe that a country like Sierra Leone, with 7 to 8 months of uninterrupted rain, massive land, there is huge potential for us. So the principal objective of Feed Salon is to reduce our food dependency and to increase domestic food production. So that things that we can produce, we can buy ourselves. So all the policies are there. We are getting a lot of encouragement. His Excellency was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago was in Vienna. He got a lot of support, got a lot of pledge, and we are seeing a lot of companies that are coming to invest in the agricultural sector. Like I told you, the whole idea of the feed service is about food production. So there's a lot of opportunities in the supply chain. There's a whole lot going on. Of course, we are passing progressive laws. Meaning that we are strengthening. We are trying to strengthen the governance framework, and more importantly, we are supporting